Okay, so last week we talked about eating fish on Shabbos, eating fish in particular, and fish, for better or for worse, has like a long-standing Mesorah of it having a certain chshivas, meaning ranging all the way from the times of Chazal, discussing fish as the one of the primary foods of Einig or Kavod Shabbos, including all the different dasim and kubalim about gilgul and fish and etc. So fish has like a long-standing Mesorah of sorts, or a somewhat more ancient Mesorah in regards to making it something special that people eat, that plays like a very special role in the Shabbos Suda. Now, this week I thought I'd continue by discussing Kugel. For those of you who are very Litvish inclined, this is a very leichte topic. It's not a but in the Chassidish world, by the Gracie Rebbes of various different stripes, eating Kugel and the particular significance of Kugel into the Shabbos played a pretty outsized role. And there's a lot to talk about, and I want to discuss it. Now, the truth is that of all the what we would call Jewish foods, the commonly Jewish foods today, Kugel is somewhat unique in that, according to those who study this, I'm an expert, but those who study this say that Kugel is not a non-Jewish food that later became popular amongst Jews. Kugel is a Jewish food. It was invented by Jews, popularized by Jews. Now, I think the word Kugel is a German word, means like ball, cluster. I think a bullet might be called a Kugel, or a Kegel, or something similar to that in German. It has to do with the shape of the dense like food baked in a deep pot, and it has that particular shape. I think that Kugel originally, at least that where the word comes from, what is referred to, meant like Lakshan Kugel. It meant Kugel made out of noodles, not Kugel made out of potato, which is a newer food to Europe. But in any case, Kugel was a Jewish food in this regard, that there are several old Yiddish like quotes, old Yiddish proverbs that people would say that really predate Hasidim, that tell you a little bit about Kugel. For example, there's a as a Yiddinik can Kugel nicht machen, kimt I get. There's a old Yiddish quote. A Shabbos on a Kegel is as if a fliegel on a fegel on a fliegel, like it's missing its wing. And this one I got a kick out of. It's when a person tries to pretend that he's not Jewish and he's hiding his identity. So people would say the Kugel licked him from punim. The Kugel stain is still on his face, meaning it's we know what that means today. It's you can't really hide your Jewishness. A Yankee cap is not going to cover it. In any case, there's meaning Kugel is it's part of the Jewish foods, part of the foods that Jews ate. More than likely, it's a food, it seems, that was invented by Jews, so it's really a Jewish food. But where did it take on? It's like it's outsized chivas, let's say, regarding to eating it on Shabbos. Now, I want to open with a cute story. The Ramesh has a few chuvas, one maybe two chuvas about Bachram stealing food from the kitchen in the yeshiva. Are they allowed to? Do we say the food really belongs to them and the yeshiva is just like a technical administrator, or does the yeshiva have some say so? One of them, I think, is written to Rabbi Yitzchak Chavroni, who was the Nasi of Chavron Yeshiva. I think the other one, if it's a tshuva or it's a verbal psak, was given to Reb Schneier when there was Bachram and BMG who were stealing food. In any case, it's kind of like a shaila that comes up in the Yeshiva Shevelt, like if Bachram want to steal chalent or they want to go into the kitchen on Friday night and take food, what's the status of them helping themselves? Now, I came across a Chassidish Maisa that I think is a good opener to this Kugel discussion. The Baal Tanya had a chassid by the name of Reb Shmuel Munkes. He really came from the town of Kalisk. They used to call him Reb Shmuel Kalisker. He was also called Reb Shmuel Munkes. Maybe that's his last name. And he was a bit of a comedian. Reb Shmuel Munkes was a very humorous fellow. Everything that he said had humor in it. It didn't always make perfect sense. And he became some sort of like mythical figure in the Chabad world, where they'd find meaning and deep wit and deep Kabbalistic meaning in all the different zingers and one-liners that Baruch Munkes would say. Now he had a line. This time cute. For the first time he came to meet the Baal Tanya, he came to the town of Liozhny or wherever the Baal Tanya was then, and he comes to the town late at night. And the town was freezing cold, and there was everyone's houses was closed. I'm sorry, everyone's houses were closed and dark, and he sees the only house that has light is the Baal Tanya's house. So Reb Shmuel, I think I called him Baruch before. His name is Reb Shmuel Munkes, Reb Shmuel Kalisker. he sneaks into the Baal Tanya's house and he just makes himself comfortable by the fire that the Baal Tanya is sitting and learning by. Eventually, the Baal Tanya looks up and he says, Anshuldik, who are you? What are you doing here? And Reb Shmuel says, I'm a Yid who's cold and I needed a fire to warm myself by. So the Baal Tanya says, was there no other fires that you could warm yourself by? So he says, no, everyone else is sleeping. This is the only fire that's open. I need to warm myself by the fire. Meaning he made like as if he's totally disinterested in the Baal Tanya and he's just here for the warmth. The Baal Tanya, looks up and he says, I hear, but you're disturbing me. I'm trying to learn over here. So Shmuel says, I'm not bothering you. I just want to be with the Baal Tanya. Tells him, if you're not going to leave, I'm going to have the guy come and chase you out. So Shmuel Munkus tells him, the guy that's in me is bigger than the guy that you have. Now, and the Baal Tanya, enjoyed his wit and he let him stay. And supposedly there's many, many more stories of his cute, somewhat strange lines and disposition that he used to have. Now he was a batchen. He used to perform at the weddings. The famous chasana between the Einikel of the Kedushas of Levi Yitzchak Barditchev and the Einikel of the Baal Tanya. That famous chasana he performed at. He was the batchen there. His batchen. Many other Gracie Rebbe weddings. He was an interessant Yid. Now, a story is told, and I think this is a good introduction, that they were once sitting by a farbrengen with Chassidim, and they ran out of food on a Friday night. They ran out of food. They had nothing more to eat, nothing more to drink. And a farbrengen without refreshments is not exactly up to the level. And Reb Shmuel, who was very comfortable breaking and entering into the Baal Tanya's house, snuck into the Baal Tanya's house, and he stole the kugel that the Rebbetzin had made and set aside for the upcoming Shabbos. So the next day he took the kugel and he shared it out with the chaverim and he ate it. Now the next morning the Rebbetzin comes and she sees the kugel's missing, and obviously she's unhappy about this. She knows who the troublemaker is amongst the Alter Rebbe's Chassidim, and she summons Reb Shmuel Munkus to the entire in front of her husband, the Baal Tanya. And she lays out her taina. She says how hard she worked and this kugel that she prepared, and she had it set away, and he has no right to come in and to take it, and he stole the kugel. Baal Tanya listens and he says, yeah, Rebbetzin b'skirach, Reb Shmuel Munkus has no right to take the kugel. He has to make it up to you. And this chassid, Reb Shmuel Munkus, he leans back in his chair, he closes his eyes, and he starts waxing poetic about how delicious this kugel was and how well made it was and how special it was. And the Rebbetzin eventually can't hold tzachai, and he says, okay, fine, I'm not going to hold it against you. You can have the kugel. And the story is obviously, it's a cute story, a silly story, but Mitzat Sheni, it highlights the chassidish involvement in kugel, and how Baruch Munchas, when he was saying how special the kugel was, he meant really on a deeper level how special the kugel was, and then etc. Now, this mamish, dozens of different times that kugel is mentioned, like in the Chassidish Svarim, dozens, and there's so many different versions and ways and whatever. And I'm really just going to sample a few and whatever pops into my head, and I could be wrong off with some of the names or not exact, but I'm just attempting to give a flavor of the Chassidish importance that was given to kugel. Now, the truth is, before we start with that, there is a din that's gebracht, the Ramah, in the beginning of Hilchos Shabbos, in Siman Reish Mem Beis, and that's as follows. In Siman Reish Mem Beis, the Ramah says as follows. The Haggah says, the Ramah says as follows. Yesh shekasvu, and he's quoting a Maril that we'll read from in a second. Shem b'miktas mekaymis na'agu lechem mul yisa shekayrim pashtida b'leil Shabbos. There's a minik to eat mul yisa, which is like a meat pie that has a crust on the bottom and a crust on top. B'leil Shabbos. Zeicher leman she'em mechusel l'mayla l'mata. Just like the man that was mechusel l'mayla l'mata was covered over on top and the bottom. V'leiri isi lachash l'zeh. The Ramah says I didn't see it to be chayshish like this. But l'maytz in the Shar Knesset and even the Mishnah Berurah bring this meaning. Now, where's it coming from? It's coming from Maril. The Maril says, Amar Mari Segal, time of the Eichlin Mulyisa, Mulya, B'leil Shabbos. The reason why we eat Mulya and Leil Shabbos, Zeichel Aman, She'emunach Tal L'mayla, V'tal L'mata, Hachanami Habasar Munach Ben Shnei Dafa Isa. As I said, the Maril. And Dr. Moshe brings it, and the Ramah brings it, and whatever. So the Maril is saying that there's some sort of Meichel Meyuchid called Mulya or Mulyisa, which is some sort of pie that has a top crust and a bottom crust with a filling in the middle that we eat because we want to have like a zeicher leman. Now the truth is that kugel does not really fit the bill for a mulya, meaning mulya has a filling with a top crust and a bottom crust, and kugel, although done right, it will have a nice crust on top and a crust on bottom. It's really all comprised of the same material. it has a crust like a bread has a crust, meaning there's I forgot what it's called. There's a name for it, but the effect when you cook something at a certain temperature, it forms a crust. So this is it's not exactly like having a crust with having a filling, which is then into the mun. The mun had shichvas atal on top and on bottom, and the mun was different inside. Others say that kugel is Rashi Tevis. Kugel is they say Kugel is Rashi Tevis of, I forgot exactly how it goes. There's a remez to Kugel daimah to the man. The Kugel's Rashi Tevis is Rashi Tevis v'haman kizera god lavan. And obviously some say that Kugel has the same ruchniistic plural potentiality that the man had, meaning the man had it physically too, that you could taste whatever you wanted it to be, but the man also was a ruchniistic food. So the Kugel has that same ruchniistic potential power. But the most original thing to look at as a makar for eating a Kugel-like food on Shabbos is the Maril and the Ramah. Now, granted, the Maril and the Ramah are not talking about what we would refer to today as a modern Kugel, but there's akapanim some sort of tushtel to it. Now, there's a few nekudas that I want to stress over here, but one that I have to quote from is the Shulchan Atar. The Shulchan Atar says something he gives it extreme importance. The Shulchan Atar from the Kamaran Rebbe, he says like this. He says, Kugel shel Shabbos be'emtza asuda ein etzarach bracha k'mi ikar suda shel Shabbosu v'hu meichel shel kol Yisrael oichlan meichel echad v'oivdim lekel echad. And this is the food that on it it's gezakt, everyone eats meichel echad and oivdim lekel echad. Everyone eats the same food and they serve the same Hashem. Someone who doesn't eat kugel on Shabbos if he's beit the gachkrov. Now this sprach that he's saying so it's really gebait on a Rashi and Chumash. Rashi and Chumash, but the pasuk says Amim Har Yikro Shami B'chuziv Chitzedek. Rashi says as follows: Amim Har Yikro, he brings a medrash. Al Yidei Prakmati, and this is in many Chassidish Shemarim. They explain this to be the region. The Rashi says Al Yidei Prakmati Shel Zvulun, through the wide-ranging business interests of Zvulun. Many non-Jewish merchants come to Eretz Yisrael. He lives by the border area. And they say, since we took all the effort, we made all the effort, and we came here to visit, to do business with you. Once we're here already, let's at least get some education. Let's go see what's the religion. Let's see a little bit about the culture of this nation. They see that all of Klal Yisrael worships one God. They eat the same food. There's no nation like this. So what the Kamaran Rebbe is suggesting is that Kugel is this food that's ma'agid all of Klal Yisrael, that makes Klal Yisrael have this certain nationhood that other nations come and are impressed by and find attractive, and Ad Kach even leads to Geirim, and Kugel's that food. So someone who doesn't eat it, tzarich live to Kachrov. So Kugel's mamish like the door prize for Geirus. Now, I even saw, and this obviously it seems to me a little far-fetched, but there are those who say that the reason why Lakshan Kugel, the way we know, Kugel made out of Lakshan, which is, by the way, according to many, the primary Kugel, meaning by the Galatiana Rebbes and others, Lakshan Kugel, and exactly which particular Lakshan, thick Lakshan, thin Lakshan, is itself a whole Nidin over there. Whatever, it's not going into that now, but which today is called Yerushalmi Kugel, right? Today that Kugel is referred to as Yerushalmi Kugel. So there are those who say the reason why it's called Yerushalmi Kugel is because of this time that the Shulchan Atar, that the Kamaran Rebbe is saying, hey Yois, this is the Kugel that the Klal Yisrael would eat in Yerushalayim, that gave everybody the Meichel Echad, to refer to as Yerushalmi Kugel. Take it or leave it. I don't know if this is I don't know if this Kugel was being eaten that far back. Take it or leave it, but al kapanim, it's something that people say it's cute. Now, others say that the reason why we eat kugel is nothing to do with this meichel echad, nothing to do with zeicher lamon. There's something called al pi Kabbalah, something the seid kav ha'igel. Kugel is kav v'igel, straight and round. Many different rebbes talked about this. I think I forgot from who. That I saw from the Spinker Rebbe, B'Shem the Degel Machne Ephraim, about the Baal Shem Tov's grandson, who heard from the Rebbe that said as follows. He said, Soid Ephraim Menashe, Soid Kol Terakula, Who Soid Kav V'Eagle, V'Soid Bria Shemayim V'Aretz. Somehow the Soid Ephraim Menashe, which is the Soid Kav V'Eagle, which is what we're trying to do in Kugel is the Seid Shemayim V'Aretz. It's the site of everything. At the I saw that Mendel Rimanover was once taking a walk with another Gracie Rebbe, and for 3 hours long, and they were just discussing the Seid V'Kav V'Igel. Now the truth is that Seid Kav V'Igel though is as a hecher ezach. It's something that's not for everyone to talk about, and because of that, it's like something that wasn't discussed. And I saw by the Chayzer, I think by the Chayzer when a guest would come, the Chayzer would invite him to speak on Shabbos sometimes. And one time, David Lalaver, an early Polish Rebbe, came to be with the Chayzer of Shabbos, and the Chayzer was mechaber him to speak, and he started talking about Seid Kav V'Igel, and the Chayzer shoshked him, said, "Shasha, das genig." We don't talk about this like for everyone to hear. So meaning this Seid Kav V'Igel, which is something very chashiv, very important, is something that's related to Kugel. I don't know anything about it or what to make of it, but Isaiah is gebracht in several svarim. Now, additionally, there's another few versions of this, and one of the versions is that the Rishonus, the Heilige Rishonus supposedly said, and many others, of course, and each one of these things could be, there's many rabbis talk about them, that all the Machali Shabbos that we have by the Suda, Yiddish Suda, whatever is included in the Yiddish Suda, is all connected to Esesphiris, and the Kugel is connected to Midas HaYesod, which is the Hechste Midas of all the Midas, and therefore Kugel is mamish like the centerpiece of the Avodah. In some Chassidisim they have special songs by the Tish when Kugel is distributed. So it's connected to Midas HaYesod. Now, rather interessant, because of the Midas HaYesod connection of Kugel, there are some who are dafka makbid to not eat it with a fork because a fork is some sort of interloper that doesn't belong there, and there are others who are dafka makbid to eat it with a fork and a plate because Midas HaYesod you don't touch with your hands. Now, again, above my pay grade, or definitely not something that I'm going to discuss in detail, but something that's gebracht. Now, another thing, and particularly by Galiciana Rebbes, is Kugel is a school of Parnasa. The Rebbe giving out Kugel by the Suda is a school of Parnasa. This is by the Tzvila Tzaddik and by the Bava Rebbes and Psheversk and all the different Tzanzer Rebbes, and this is a school for Kugel. And other Rebbe, I saw a story about the Kedushas that he was once cutting the Kugel. And one of the Gabam tried to step in and help him cut the kugel and says, "Vas, to give parnas out to everybody. It's easy to just be chayte chayim l'chol chay. You can't just get involved. This is a Rebbe Shavoida, meaning giving out the kugel was like for parnas, and that was something only the Rebbe had to do. Others and Memela, they were very makbid to give the kugel out, hand to hand. In Psheversk, I know for sure this is the thing, they take a haise nasa kugel, a haise nasa lakshin kugel, which is boiling hot. The Rebbe takes it in his hand and presses it into your hand. I don't know in all cries exactly, but there's definitely a meaning to that because parnas is from hand to hand. Now, rather on this vein, I saw a somewhat cute story by one of the Shinovitz kinder, also a Tzanzer Rebbe, one of the Shinovitz kinder. The minig in his chatzar was that generally he would cut up the kugel, and everybody would come grab it from the plate in front of him. At a certain point, he made a new takana. He said, from now on, instead of everyone grabbing the kugel from the plate in front of me, I'm going to distribute the kugel, by hand, person to person. There was a guest who came a few weeks later, who was a chassid of the Rebbe, but didn't know the new rule that kugel is supposed to be passed out hand to hand and not grabbed anymore. And the minute the Rebbe's knife left the plate, he made a dive for the kugel to grab it. And the Rebbe, yelled at him and said, no, that's not how we do it over here. I'll give it out. And this chassid was obviously heartbroken. The Rebbe yelled at him, and that was not a good thing. And after Shabbos, the Rebbe calls him in and he tells him, don't worry, I didn't yell at you because you did anything so terribly wrong. It's really not a big deal. It's okay, we used to do it like that. But the truth is that kugel is for parnasa, and I noticed that the people who need the parnasa most, i.e. the least aggressive ones in the room, are never managing to get a piece of the kugel. It's always the aggressive ones in the front who are getting kugel. And I want to make sure that some of the people that could really use the school of parnasa get a hold of some of the kugel, and therefore I want to pass it out. But that's there's nothing so terrible about what you did. That's the version that says that kugel is a school for parnasa. Now, also, Grada, there's a version that says, again, take what we want from this. That there is a version that's gebracht b'shem the Bnei Yissaschar. I think the Tzvila Tzaddik, the Bluzhever Rebbe, said it over in the name of his grandfather, the Bnei Yissaschar, that all the kugel that a person eats in his lifetime will be placed on the scale in Shemayim when a person is getting his final accounting, and all of this kugel will add to the tally and will help him weigh down the scale. Now the story goes that when the Bnei Yissaschar, when one of the Dinavis said over this this thing. The next morning he came to his Suda looking for the kugel. All the kugel was gone because his son, hearing what the father had said and taking it at face value with Tmimus, he went and the Mesiras Nefesh literally ate up all the kugel that was prepared for the next day. So in any case, these are some of the various different like rationales and chshivasin and attached skulas that come connected to the inyan of kugel. Now, because kugel's so important by Rebbes and by Chassidim, there's obviously fights when you have a mixed marriage and you have a couple that one comes from one kreis, another one comes from another kreis. You could easily have fights that could develop of which kugel to eat, and that's why this is called Shalom Bayis Kugel, and different Shabbosim we eat multiple kugels. I think in Parsha Zachar, some Chassidim eat 4 kugels. Rosh Tevis Amalek, Ayin is Erd, Meal, Lekach, and something I forget, and Kartoffel kugel. Meaning to eat like apple kugel, Lakshin kugel, potato kugel, and male kugel is like a kishka of sorts, like a flour kugel. But in any case, meaning there's a whole other subset of the minhagim of which kugels to eat when, and which Hasidim eat what type of kugel, and some eat dafka Shabbos day, some eat Friday night and Shabbos day, some eat one right after davening by Kiddush and one by the Suda. And I'm not here to really make a hilchas kugel to take this too seriously. I really just mean to share the chshivas and mele, like the outsized role that it plays in Chassidus Shabbos. And mele, it's verständlich that it could lead to some fighting by mixed marriages, and there would need to be some psharas that are made throughout the years. In any case, if this is all tongue in cheek and silly to you, then that's fine. If it's a serious thing, like by some chassidim it is, so that's also. I'm just sharing some of the various chassidish zachen that I said to explain and to value the chshivas of this ma'achah of the Shabbos Suda. Now the truth is, I just don't want to leave this out. It's not a whole nother time, and I don't know really where it fits in. But there's a story that they say about the Baal Tanya. The Baal Tanya said, a quote officially, what you're able to, what Klal Yisrael is able to poilos in Rosh Hashanah, the Tkiyah Shofar, they can be poilos the eating of kugel, which is why we don't blow shofar on Shabbos. We eat kugel instead, and we don't blow shofar. Now, there's other certain quotes, and this is a tremendous milsa, plea of the Gezach to say, and I don't know if the Baal Tanya said it. He didn't say, but Azizak B'nei, the Baal Tanya said this. Others say that the malachim who are memuna to bring up the kol shofar, memuna to bring up the schosim of the kugel. I don't know what to make. I just didn't want to leave it out because it's another very very dramatic quote from a big rabbi about kugel. But in any, I don't know which time it goes with, whatever. In any case, it's just a small sampling of these various times. Now, possibly we'll continue on to discuss some other machali Shabbos like chalent, which maybe according to the Tzemach Tzedek, a particular type of chalent, there's a halacha Moshe Sinai. Maybe we'll discuss ein mit zwiebel, which is actually a type of food, eggs and onions, which is a very common food deep at the Suda, but it's actually a very halachically complicated food because the preparation involves many shaylas lahalacha, and especially if you prepare it on Shabbos and if you prepare it in the proper way. The Rechaim, the Tzanz Rebbe supposedly said many different things about it. Maybe we'll continue on to that. Potentially we'll continue on to this. It's a light inyan related to the chshivas of the food on Shabbos, and maybe we'll continue on to some of those other foods coming up in Mitzvah Shem.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.